Hello, how are you? This is Barbie Baptiste Gardner, and I am joined with Natalie Lamb. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Barbie.
Okay, so today we are our last video was on remorse and doubt within whether or not you should divorce, whether or not you feel you should divorce, second guessing that decision. And this video is about outside influences that can impact our decision to stay married or get divorced. Meaning, are there people or situations that are on the outside of our marriages that make us second guess if this is the right decision for us? And is it even as strong as those outside influences telling us that divorce is not the right thing to do, even if we feel as though it is the right thing to do? So, some of the ways that you can be receiving that type of influence would be cultural pressure, which is, your culture, you feel as though you should be married, or in your culture, you're a married person, maybe at a certain age, or this is a part of life. And if you're not married, then who are you? Because you should be. That's part of the things that happen within your culture. Family pressure to stay married, where you do not want to be married anymore, but your family is telling you that you should stay married for whatever reason. Biblical alignment, meaning you feel people outside of your marriage are, or it could be you feeling as though if you get divorced, you're not in alignment with God's word, with the Bible, or your higher faith, that this is going against your spiritual beliefs. Shame of unfaithfulness. If you were unfaithful in your marriage, or your partner was unfaithful, and then bringing that to the light, because of course, when you decide to divorce, now there will be a plethora of questions as far as why is this happening. So just not, it can be very strong, just not disclosing that or wanting to disclose it, as far as, that pressure. Length of time of marriage. You might feel as though you have been married for so long. I see this a lot with much older couples who have, I've heard this numerous times, who have been together for several years. They're, older, maybe seniors. They're not happy together. But what I've heard is from the outside influences, you might as well just stay together. You've been together this
Mhm.
long. So many times I hear that. Fearful of the overall scrutiny of the situation and how it will be perceived. So, that could, anything that I didn't mention, anything that I didn't say, as far as just something from the outside of your marriage that is making you fearful to decide to divorce, or to, bring that out into the world that you're divorcing. So I know of a couple of examples. I already mentioned the people who are older, where people have said they should just stay together, which I personally think is wrong, because if you're here and you're living, then everyone deserves, a happy life, however you get to that. And I'm not an advocate of divorce. Natalie, you know that, right? I'm not. But if you are not happy and you're living, and for, if that is your only reason to stay together, for any time, someone might see you maybe in your 50s, 60s, and you might have been married a certain amount of years, and they might say you might as well stick it out. Well, why? If you're not happy? No. Do you want to say something about that, Natalie?
No, I'm gonna let you go on, Barbie.
Okay. No, I just keep talking, and Natalie, Natalie checks in. I like it though. I learn when Natalie says her piece. Okay, and then the cultural thing, um, that is, like I said, that could be if you are in a culture that identifies your identity with being a married woman or a married man. So now you're not that way, and now you're scrutinized, or maybe not even scrutinized, but maybe you are the charity case, for lack of better term, that everyone feels sorry for you because you are someone who is not attached to someone, and you could be fine with it. But culturally, it might be that you're not whole until you are a married person. And then the final one that I have absolutely seen is, the picture perfect family. And now, the picture's not that perfect. It's not perfect at all, as far as what you have exuded, or, what could have been your reality for a long time. And now, that is busting or shattering the bubble now, because this is not what the image is anymore. And a lot of people have problems with that. They're in a lot of these societal groups, or, even just maybe things within their kids' worlds. The little, not the little, the groups within it just gets big. These family groups and these school groups, and to say, I saw that for me, and I wasn't even super heavily involved in that way. And when people start just engaging with you, you have to let them know, oh, well, we're not together. So, my child is going to this house or that. You have to start letting people in where necessarily I wouldn't have. I had to do that quite a bit with school for my kids, because I didn't think it was fair, when things were happening. If they have an administrator, a teacher, or whatever, and the first thing they always ask is, what's going on with your child? Because that helps them. That helps them when they're seeing a child. That's a part of them, to know what's happening when they go home. So I needed to let them know, this is, they might be having some challenges from this transition. And when they get this work, I'm letting you know, okay, you're seeing my face, but there's two households involved. So I'm going to do my best to merge it, but this is what's happening. And they're always relieved to know it helps. But you do have to let people know. A lot of times when that type of thing happens, because it's a part of the whole picture, and it helps your child, and it helps the person who is with your child to do their best, and it gives them a little bit of grace when dealing with your child and dealing with the situation and accommodating you. Do you need two of these sent here and there? They need to know that. It really does help, even though you might not want to tell them these things. It's necessary. Okay, Natalie.
What am I doing on, Barbie?
Okay, so
just the whole outside influences.
Yes, and of course, all of the experience of what you've seen with people counseling them. What have you seen as far as maybe the reasons that they've held back? Have there been any outside influences that you have seen, or their own influences that let them, not say divorce, this should happen right now, or impact?
So, I mean, of course, outside stuff always plays a part, because we're not an island or in a bubble. So life is constantly affecting us and making us decide if this is good, if this is bad. As far as like, we'll do outside and then bring it inside. As far as the outside influence, probably number one is if people do have children. That's probably the number one factor of should we stay or should we go? How is this going to affect kids? Is it better for us to isolate within ourselves and parent them separately? Is it better for them to have a two-parent home and us try to keep our mess under, the carpet as much as possible and them some whatever normalcy is? That's a tricky thing, just because kids absorb energy and they go when stuff is crazy. So you may be hiding it. I think I've had maybe 2 people that were completely unaware that their parents were going through stuff. Most people know, you're living this atmospheres where your defenses are down. So everyone in the family is living this family life. For some people, it worked for them to wait till their kids got older. For other people, absolutely, they needed to leave. And because we live in so much war, you figure out how to do it. Does it affect? Yeah, but so does living with a bad marriage, and you're constantly fighting and shouting and all that. That's going to affect the kids too. So we're looking at it from the kid perspective. You've got to be honest about, what am I really handing them? What am I really teaching them? What is the best way for us to go out creating really consistency, love, affection, support for our kids? And is it better for us to do this being separated than us trying to do this together, because we're so exhausted from each other, we can't even give anything to the kids, and that could be, that's super layered. We could talk about that for a good 30 minutes just within itself. And I invite you guys that are watching to add in what were some of your issues as far as stay or to leave when you are dealing with the kids aspect. Like, we would need to hear from you too, to help us be able to say, like, man, this was hard, but this part was easy. This part I considered, but we decided to do it. That way you can kind of gauge where you are, right? Excuse me. The other part, as far as family influences, right? Your parents, your siblings, grandparents, all that comes in, because everyone has an opinion, right? Everyone has an idea if you should stay, if this was, egregious enough for you to leave. I'm sure you could work this out. You got all of these people speaking into your situation. And what you have to remember as the couple is that no one knows everything. And only to know of how hard it is and how hard you have tried. And where your limit is. Nobody can really decide that for you. Even when I have couples come in, it's not my job to decide if they're ready for divorce. It's not my job to decide now it's time to do it. I come from a perspective of, this is such a big decision to make that you have to own this decision 100%. Because otherwise you then are throwing back left cup. And if this person would have did this, then maybe I would have stayed. This has to be 100% you, that you've gone through every scenario possible. You have weighed the pros and the cons. You looked at the outside influences, because they do influence us, right? If you are concerned about what your family's going to say, how they're going to view you now, if your role in the family changes or shifts, and your in-laws and all of that matters. It would be crazy for us to act like none of that matters. And none of those influences affect us. They do affect us, and it's fine for it to affect us. You just have to make sure you go through all of these different influences and say, this is worthy of me staying, and this is not worthy of me staying. People get over stuff. Like, it would be crazy for you to stay and you're in a completely horrible place because your mother be upset that you got divorced. That's her issue that she's going to have to get over. The other one you talked about was like a spiritual aspect, right? Yeah. For people that are Christian, the Bible, we know that God speaks against divorce, right? That he hates divorce in and of itself. Mm-hmm. What I always suggest for people to do is you really go and read for yourself. You go and understand where divorce began, right? Which is all back in the day when he was like, should we grant divorce, not divorce? Well, divorce was granted. Really, it was a cultural thing. It was a time where women needed to be attached to a man in order to survive. Men had free will to kind of do what they wanted to do, and women were left kind of alone and abandoned with no way of survival if a man decided he wanted to leave. So you got to look at everything from a cultural perspective when you're reading the Bible, as well as a greater, higher thing of you being connected to God. And you trusting that whatever your connection to God is and your understanding is that you and God can make peace. It's really
okay. We had technical difficulties that I was trying to fix. So Natalie, I'm sorry. Can you please pick up where you left off?
So I don't know exactly where I left off, but I'm just going to start from here. Speaking about the faith base, right? And you making sure that you really have peace with God, right? And if it's not God of the Christian faith, the God of whomever you believe in, that you have peace with that. And nobody can give you that peace, but that's between you and God, right? But it is essential for people that, and even the people that I talk to that are faith-based, that it's essential for you to have that peace. Because if you don't, you will terrorize your own self. Okay. And you'll feel like, oh my God, this has been my cutoff with God. And how do I ever repair that? Because I can't go back to the person. Mm-hmm. So it is important that you go through all of that stuff. Divorce is nothing anyone should do, nothing that anyone should do rash. It should take time. You should think about it. You should weigh all your pros and cons. You should look at it from every vantage point that you have. Mm-hmm. And when you are a good 90% sure, that's when you need to step in the water and say, this is what I need to do. Mm-hmm. Because it's too big for you not to really examine every position. Mm-hmm. Because then you don't have at the end. You've got to be able to, I'm throwing everything in, right? Yeah. Well, when you talked about the cultural aspect, right? Everyone's culture is different. Even when we take a broad base, you say the Black culture, there's little caveats of that see things differently. So, your culture is the broad base, but it's also the smaller thing that you have lived in, how you have absorbed what you think your culture tells you about marriage, what your culture tells you about being a husband or a wife or a divorced person, mm-hmm. right? Because people create certain shames about being a divorced person. And you're going to have to be able, if that's the road you travel, you're going to have to relinquish that for yourself. So much of you walking in this as this is what is where you need to be right now really is based in, and I don't know if my screen just, it really is based in, that's because my phone is dying. It really is based in you doing the work you need to do.
Wait, are you plugged in your phone?
Yeah, I'm good now.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, it's okay. We're just doing this, right? So much of you being good with whatever decision you make, mm-hmm. because you're gonna get outside influences. People are gonna come in and say this, and that. You have your own personal ideas about stuff. Mm-hmm. You've got to make peace with that yourself. Mm-hmm. No one can hand it to you. If you're looking for your parents to co-sign, your siblings to co-sign, your church to co-sign, your kids to co-sign, yeah. You're gonna not get that from every place.
That's right.
So you got to do that for yourself. Yeah. I've talked enough. Go for it, Barbara.
And I think too that sometimes it might not be even as deep as these things that we listed. I remember on so many times when people who knew I was married And then I said, oh no, maybe holidays or something, it came up. And I said, oh no, I'm getting divorced. Just the instant them being so uncomfortable. And I'm like, no, I'm okay. Like, it's okay. And I felt like it was coming from them. So there's a lot of that. And honestly, if you even just think about, if you don't know me and I tell you I'm getting married, then the first thing that you say is congratulations, is that energy of happiness and excitement, even if this person is an absolute jerk. It's just the fact that I'm getting married brings that energy. So what happens when we say we're getting divorced? All the time. And I get it, but this is what you get. When you say you're getting divorced, the energy is, I'm sorry. And I say it. I say it to people who are getting divorced because I am sorry it didn't work out. But even though I feel the way I feel, if you're in a happy and healthy situation, then I'm happy for you. The conversation goes on. It doesn't stop there for me. But that is the initial reaction. So we're constantly getting that. And then when you're getting married, you're constantly getting that, upliftment. Let me see the ring. It's a whole different energy that you get. Yeah. And that's real. Like you have to be ready for that, or, let yourself not be affected, or just, try not to speak on it because you're going to get that. That's a natural part of this. And one other thing I'd like to say is, if you are not ready because you feel these outside influences are heavy and looming on you, I would absolutely encourage you to do the self-work within that time. Because anytime we're taking what is coming from the outside and letting that in any way navigate our direction in our lives, there's work to be done. There just is. There's things that we need to work on, and that's a good time. You don't have to make the decision, like Natalie always says, to take your time. But when you're in that time and space, if what the outside world says is controlling your inner world, then do the work during that time. Work on you, so that when you are ready to decide whether it is staying or not, your answer is not coming from what people think and people say. Because really, they don't really care that much. Everyone's got their own lives. That's the irony of all of this. Yes, people might say feel like they're heavily influencing what you're going to do and really opinionated, but people care about them. They care about their own lives. They don't really care about what you're doing to that degree. And so what if they do? It's your life. Okay.
Yeah. And then that goes to, go back and watch the video that we posted before about the doubts and fears, because that's going to be able to really articulate better why you have this pause. Whenever you have a pause, you should honor it. And you should step back and you should think and you should see where it's coming from and get the roots of it, so that you go forward with it, you're able to do it with some freedom, right? We all love to get to a space where we don't care what anybody thinks, right? And we're just living our lives and outside influences don't matter and all of that. But all of us care to some extent about what someone thinks. Not everybody, right? That would be completely insane. But all of us are curious about what some people think about us. Our idea of self, right? Our perception of self has tentacles on how other people view us, right? So looking at those is not a negative. It's actually a positive. You to be able to affirm that you are more than just being a married person. And the people that value you, even if they have an opinion that they wish you wouldn't, they still value you as a person. And that they may be like, but that's not going to last forever. we adjust, we move forward, and you have to learn, especially within space. If you're deciding to really change your life with not being married anymore, it's a lot to carry. No, it's more than just, okay, I'm no longer with the person, it's cut off. It's a whole lot goes with it. And like you were saying about the energy of okay, now I'm divorced. And everybody's like, oh wow, that's too bad. You know? But when you have that peace and you're like, no, I made the best decision for me, the energy shifts.
That's right.
Things look different. People are like, okay, well, good for you. Like, you know, do what you got to do. It's all about you and how you have processed this and where you stand with it. Don't matter the outside influence. Everything that we talked about, if you're good with it, you make peace with it, you are sure in what you want to do, and you feel this is what's best for you.
That's right.
That's what energy you give out. And people absorb that and they're like, well, you know, do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Again, it goes to you.
Yeah. That's true. That's
like everything we
how you own it, how you own your decision,
Yes.
how you own your decision. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Now let me ask you this. What could be the repercussions of staying in a situation for these outside reasons, if you don't feel you should be married or feel you should be getting divorced? So basically deciding to stay because of these things.
So in short, you're going to be miserable. Because, right? We could elaborate that and make that, you know, a whole long discussion, but you pull it all down, you staying for other people. You staying for your own idea of what culture is, or you think is best for your kids or whatever. It's not going to sustain you for the long run. It may give you little pieces of, okay, I'll do this because as soon as that energy falls away, you're back in your misery. So it makes no sense to stay for all the other objectives unless they really become your foundation of yourself. So like if you yourself can say, I'm paying my kids and I can absorb whatever heartache, pain I have to for my kids, and I'm willing to do that for them, you can make some peace with the heartache and pain. It's amazing how we can do that. Say, okay, I'm doing this for this reason. So whenever you guys fight, whenever you have a disagreement, you come back to self and you're like, okay, but I'm doing this for them, right? The thing is that only lasts for so long because it's not about you. You're not even doing it for yourself. You're doing it for all the outside stuff, and over time, it's just gonna fade away. And you'll be right back to square one of, should I really stay? Should I go? And because you never answered those questions fully, you're going to keep going about this circle. So just pause, take the time, do the work, answer the question from every vantage point possible, and then decide and let it rest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that what we also do, we meaning people who are divorcing, if you decide to stay, I think that you might be letting anger, resentment, like introducing this as part of your world now. And probably a lot of times, even adultery and affairs, you're justifying it now because you have a whole different kind of married life. You know that you're not living this way, but now you're living for the staying for the kids or staying because of these outside influences, whatever they may be. So you decide a new married life for you is to do your own thing, and it's going to probably most likely not be anything like the married life that you intended for yourself.
Right.
And it's only for the sake of you staying married. And that's the problem that I have, Natalie. That's the problem I have. Well, what
Yeah,
falls for those things?
yeah. I mean, over time it doesn't work. I mean, now if you stay and you decide, well, let's do some work and try to make this as peaceful together as we can be, which will require both people kind of to jump into that and do that, right? Then yeah, you can definitely do that. You can definitely say it's more. We can fight harder. We can try more, and you put your energy there. Then you may turn it around, and it may look like something different. But if you're only doing it for these other factors and not even for yourself and your mate, it's not going to have any longevity.
And like we were talking about for the kids, when you're staying for the kids, kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And they know, first of all, our whole demeanor of this is marriage and I'm a miserable person. Okay, you're married, but you're miserable. You're not saying those words, but you are showing that to your child. Or the example that I've discussed with you, Natalie, of someone who let me know that they were acting as if they were happily married for the sake of the kids. What do you say about that? Is that okay?
Okay, is that okay? I don't take the okay.
What do you think about that? Sorry.
I think that it becomes destructive, meaning that one, a lot of times parents end up resentment towards their own children for that. Right? Now the kids didn't ask you to stay.
Say that again, Natalie, because I didn't catch that.
Parents can start having a lot of resentment towards their kid because in their head, I'm doing all this for you. And I'm hurt, I'm bothered, I'm feeling in despair. I got all this going on and I'm doing it for you. Now remember, the kids don't know anything about this.
Right.
So then the way you parent looks different. Right? How you treat the kids, you think the kids owe you something, trying to keep a family together, and they weren't even a part of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other side of it, like I was saying, very few kids don't know. Most kids know. Because most people are not, what's the word I want to use? Together enough to keep everything going from their kids. It spills out. Most people, if you're annoyed, your kids see you're annoyed with your partner. Most people don't know how to fight without letting everybody know fighting. So the idea that you can do that long term is a fallacy.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work towards your advantage, and it's gonna work to your kids' advantage. Because you're also, what you had mentioned, you're teaching your kids what relationships look like. Right? So you're teaching them sacrifice everything in order just to keep this title. Be in despair. It's okay for somebody to hurt you. It's okay for somebody to betray you. Of course, meaning figuring out all the different reasons why people get divorced, with the plethora. So it's hard to speak on just one. But, all these different things that go into what are we teaching our kids about relationships? What are we teaching our kids about sacrifice? How much do we sacrifice in a relationship? How much of myself do I give up for the other person? What's my line of toleration? What's the line of that's too much? Like all of this, your kids are taking in as well. Right. So it's also looking at that bigger picture of what else are we teaching in the process? Now, if you want to flip it on the other side and say, well, we do want our kids to understand that when you get married, it's not going to be all fairy tale. There are going to be some hard times. There are going to be times when you want to leave, but you decide to stay, and we fight through it, right? You're not going to always get everything done, and marriage is not for you to be happy. Like that's a fallacy. Marriage is also about you growing together, learning from each other, healing each other. All of that is all about marriage, but you don't want to show that relationships are hellish existence. Right. That we're just here for the title, but we can't stand each other. We don't love each other. We don't respect each other. we don't have anything other than this title of husband and wife. Well, I don't know if you want to teach that either.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, what are you really teaching and what are you really showing them?
And I think there's also,
and as a person, go ahead.
I think there's a huge difference between, we've discussed this in the group, I saw someone comment on it, two people who are working together and they're still having a really hard time, but two people who are fighting for their marriage versus one person that might feel that way and one person that
Right.
has already removed themselves mentally or however it is, and they're going on with their new life, but they just kept being married.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that hellish existence that you were just speaking of. That at some point, if you're the person fighting and you're fighting alone, you do have to look at and recognize if your partner is not even moving in that direction.
Yeah. Listen, so much of it is, has your heart grown hard for your person?
Yeah.
If your heart has grown hard and there's no way to soften it, there's no way to change your feels towards the person, there's no work that really can be done. You have to have a pliable heart. You have to have some open heart in order to make a marriage work. So if you're up against the wall, or your person is up against the wall and their heart is hardened, there's really nowhere to go, And we even talk about that from a biblical perspective. That's why divorce was granted. It was like, your heart is hard, and there's nothing else we can do once your heart grows hard, right? Now, we can go into, you shouldn't grow hard, but if it's hard, it's hard. Yeah. So you can fight all you, but if a person's heart is hard, of course, you have to know for yourself, like, really, I got no more to give. I bailed out of this. I'm not here anymore. It would be a waste of time for me and the person. You got to do what you got to do, and I'm so super into marriage and people staying together and working hard and believing that you can create whatever you want to create, but both people have to be willing to do that kind of work. Yeah. Moment one is not. You got what you got. And then you're asking yourself, can I live like this for forever?
That is the question.
That
is the question. If that person is as they are, and if things stay as they are, can this be my future reality forever? That is an important, because things can change, or that is the question you have to ask.
That's the question. And if your answer is, and we're talking about with nothing changing, with everything as it is today, right? No hopes, no fantasies, no dreams.
Right.
Today, if it looks like this, can I stay like this? And if you can't, then you owe it to yourself and those people that are connected to you for you to do what you need to do in order for you guys to create a better life. Yeah.
And let me just say one thing to the person who is staying together only for their children, where they know this is not the marriage that's going to work. I need to be divorced, but I'm going to hang out here for the 18 years or whatever it is until my child leaves the home. Would you want that for your child? Would you want your child to be in that situation, take your example and live that way in a marriage and stay? Because a lot of times it's hard for us to see ourselves, but I use that reflection for a lot of things in my life and with my kids, but I can see it because we usually we want the very best for our children. So are you treating yourself in the very best way? Ask yourself, what you are living, would you want that for your child? And if the answer is no, you need to take a very deep look at what's going on.
Yeah. And I'll say this, I think, some of the toil or the fight that we have with this subject of divorce, one is that it's very taboo to talk about.
Mhm.
You know, like we know that with like 55% of people get divorced, but it's not a conversation that we really do out in the open and really struggle through together as people, right? It's just like kind of these decisions are made in the dark. You come out and say, okay, I'm divorced, and I don't have nobody else to say. I think that especially if your kids are of age, you should allow them, once you've done your processing, of course, and you've gotten some clarity and all of that, don't just spring it on them and say, mom and dad are getting divorced, that's it. You're going to go here, you're going to go here, and give them no words
Right.
as to what's going on.
Right.
At least let them give their concerns.
Yeah.
Once you guys talk about it together, make this be a family thing of like, we've tried, it's not working. And like, you know, of course you don't need to give them every single detail about why. It does not need to even be a blame thing. You guys should be mature enough as adults to be able to say what needs to be said to give your kids some peace about the decisions that their lives are about to look like. But don't just, you know, where a lot of people have been hurt and stuff from their parents getting divorced is they got no tappings of saying this is about to happen, or this is what we're thinking about. We're trying to process. We care about you, right? We care about how this is going to affect you. And we're trying to see, you know, even, I mean, you would have to be a very open home to do what I'm about to say, but what are your thoughts about it? Like, would you want us to stay miserable and not treating each other well? Would you be okay with us separating, but we're still going to be 100% there for you? Like, talk about it. Yeah. There's too much that stuff that goes on in our families and stuff that we don't talk about at all. Like, it's time now to open up conversations to teach our kids how to talk, how to process stuff out loud, how to engage in hard stuff that is heavy and that we don't want to talk about. Too much stuff is taboo that should not be taboo because it's part of living. It's part of life. Right. You know, as much as marriage is a part of life, divorce is part of life now too. Yeah. And we've got to realize that this is now what people are living under, because why a lot of people have trouble even getting married is because parents got divorced, and I don't want to end up like that. But they have no idea what the struggle or the amount of processing parents before they even got divorced. All they know is I thought we were a family and now the family's over. Mm-hmm. There's no discussion. There's no working through it, you know, and of course the age matters as far as your kids, but let's start talking about real life stuff that's happening, and it's happening all the time.
And let the kids know that their feelings, we're always talking about feelings here, that their feelings are safe to share. So that doesn't mean, of course, a common feeling that you're going to hear is, I want my family to be together. And, you know, do not shoot your child down. Honor that you're feeling. You know, I've heard that before, of course. And my reply was, I want that too. But that's not what is happening, and that's not what is the best way for us. But anyone who was married wanted that. You know, at the core, be honest. Yes, I wanted it, but that's not what is the best for everyone here right now. And I also, you know, have never lied to my children in saying we might work it out when I wasn't feeling that. That wasn't what, you know, it's different if you really are trying, which I really don't think you should let the child know, because it might give them hope where, you know, Natalie might have something to say about that. But I feel as though you should say, you know, you don't have to disclose that to them, but just honor their feelings and, you know, be honest. When you're hurt or you're sad, it's okay to say that.
Yeah. And that's like after divorce, there's going to be time when you're mad about things, especially in the beginning. There's going to be adjustment periods for everybody. You know, it's not just adjustment for the kids. You're adjusting as well. This is what our normalcy is now.
Yeah.
There's no sense of trying to hide it or sugarcoat it or go into fantasy mode. Yeah, I'm sad that it's over. Yeah, I miss this part of us. Like, it's okay to talk about the realities of life.
Right.
This is now what our new normal is going to be. And some of it is some sadness. Some of it is some regret that didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you also want to teach your kids it's okay to feel regret. It's okay to feel sorrow. And it's also okay for us to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to get buried here, you know? And you want to show them that too. Like, show them the full gamut of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all roses and prettiness. There's
right.
hard stuff to add. There's things we struggle through. There's regrets we have.
Yeah.
Like, let's just make life a little more tangible for these new kids coming up underneath us, so that they don't have to carry the taboos that we carry.
And that's a challenge for me. I constantly have that one of not the appearance of perfection, because that is in alignment with protection for me. So I've had to stop that and be consciously aware of exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Right? So, I mean, you know, like, for you guys that are watching, you know, hit us up, let us know what you think. What are the struggles that you have had? What are the ones you had in the beginning as far as not wanting to get divorced versus now that you have been divorced? How much do those even weigh into where you are now? You know, because sometimes we make things much bigger than what we thought they were going to be. And then once we actually travel down that road, we realize it was a little sign that we ain't even paying attention to no more. So I would love to hear from you guys as far as where you are in the process, how you process it. You know, that's going to help all of us. We can learn from each other. We can gain insight from each other so that we're all growing together. And we're going to grow in different ways, and it's going to look different, and no one's voice is the same, just like marriage was the same. But we can still grow and learn from each other, and that's the hope of what we're doing here, is growing the learning so that we have to keep repeating the same patterns, and that we can actually help the next people coming through this to be able to see, I will be okay.
And the whole purpose of this group is the community. So you're not feeling as if you're alone in this. You'll hear something in these videos and say, I thought it was just me, and you'll see that it's not. And, you know, hopefully gain a healthy perspective on whatever it is that you're challenged with.
Right.
Okay.
That's it. Yes.
Good. Okay, so leave your comments down below if you want to ask Natalie and I any questions about what we talked about or anything else. Let's start discussions, something that you might want to even hear within the group that's, you know, heavy on your heart, on your mind. That's what we're here for. That's what this community is here for. And I hope that this helped. Let us know. Did this answer any questions for you, or did you enjoy it? Are you learning? Let us know.
Let us know. And the other that we and Barbie have discussed is, we know that our videos may be a little longer than what some people are used to, but our main aim is really to give you a lot to be able to chew on and discuss. You know, this is not a quick fix thing. I don't believe in quick fixes. I think things take time. We need more information. We need to be able to digest and understand. So don't turn away because we're lengthy. If you need to do it in segments, do it in segments while you drive, play it while cleaning the house. Do this, make this be a part of your healing and growing and learning, and get accustomed to being okay with taking time out for yourself, just to learn, just to grow, and just to heal. Because I promise you, it does not happen overnight. It does take time. It takes you being purposeful, conscious of what you're trying to achieve. So, you know, if you're hoping that's going to come with a 15 minutes of chit chatting, like, oh, I've gotten enlightened, Generally, they don't happen that way. You may get a little light bulb, but it takes work in order to really grow and to heal. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
And one thing I always say to Natalie is, even though my personal process has been over 3 years with my divorce, I still, every single time she and I meet and have these discussions, I'm learning. I'm learning, and divorce is, it's so dimensional. It's not one little thing. I know we say that over and over again, but I feel as though it's been lumped for so long. So there's a lot of layers, there's a lot of emotions and feelings, and it changes a lot. I feel like it's the foundation of it, can move so much as far as, what is your stability with
right
in your life, and your co-parenting life and your children.
Right.
It's, this type of group is a blessing to be able to have. So for that support, because we need support.
Mm-hmm. We need support. Yep.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Yes. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.